Ryan,
Hey guys, I apologize. I'm sorry about that.
all good. How are you today? I'm
I'm
Rob.
good. Let's see.
Hold
Good to
on, let
see.
me and that is Denny. Hold on, we need our camera.
Yeah, let's see.
There we go.
Here they are. Hey guys.
Good to see you, man. Thanks for being out here.
Oh yeah, sorry about that. Thanks, guys. All right.
Let me get some volume going here real quick.
Take my hat off.
Can you give me test 1 2?
Checking 1 2. Checking 1 2. Oh yeah, let's see. Can you hear me? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We got you. We got you. There we go.
I think that's should be good. There.
Yep, we're good on this side.
Hey, hold on 1 second. I want to up the volume. There's a make this sound even better. 1 second. Get the better audio working. Let's see. Checking 1 2. There we go. That might even sound even crisper.
You sound good. You're a professional, man. You know, Brian, I'm getting a little intimidated here.
Oh, get out of here.
This was a good idea. This was a good idea till about 10 minutes ago. You know, it's like
stop it.
Dang it, man. God.
No, we'll have some fun, man. I'm honored to be here, and we'll get after it.
I'll tell you what. Oh, this is good. If I turn this way, now you can see no, leave that alone. Okay, leave that alone. But this sound, if you go here, I'm darker. If I go with this background,
Let's just make sure if you can do that, we'll have the microphone over here.
That's great. That's great. It says you cannot minimize Zoom when you are recording this meeting.
Okay.
Do they know who we are? Do we got Brian on here? We can do anything we want.
We never want to be minimized.
Don't want to be minimized?
No.
Okay. I think it's a bad thing. Are we recording right now?
We are recording.
We're going to talk a little, Brian. We're going to record. And remember,
Yeah.
we'll edit. You know this business much better than I, man. And so I want you to know that I appreciate you doing this. And
yeah.
God, I swear to God, been in the sports for like 50,000 years, and this is kind of new to me. This is podcast 36.
Okay.
And I know you've been around. The numbers are getting larger. We got it getting up to 5,000, and it's kind of neat, the momentum building, you know. But then I look at your resume and I go, "Holy shit, man! What am I doing? I'm not ready for you yet, Brian. I'm not ready.
Oh, get out of here! Stop it! I'm just a little peasant.
Hey, I don't. You know
I'm
what?
A little peon.
That's it. That voice right now. I go, okay. I'm gonna learn.
Okay.
Hey, so my name's Denny Barrett, and this is podcast 36, and we call this podcast Swing Hard, and started this thing about 8 or 9 months ago, and like I said, it's build momentum, and the audience out there is the youth as well as the parents as well as high school. We've had my college guys on here, and some professional guys like the great Jack McDowell, and then we've had some and then we bring up some much bigger guests. Like last week, we had Jacob Lays on, a 9-year-old kid who was on here, just absolutely dominated this podcast. You know, you never know who you're going to throw out there and say, "Hey, man, you got the rock, go get him." And he threw a shutout and won the damn thing. So it was good. But let me ask you, Brian, tell me about. We're here with Brian Fenley, and Brian, if I'm saying that correctly, yes.
Yes, sir. You nailed it.
Hey, now, Brian, you've been in the. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you're with Fox. I know you're with ESPN. I know you have a wide range of, and I'm going to start promoting you more throughout this thing. But if you could tell us how you got into broadcasting and how you got into the profession that you're in, I'd appreciate that.
It all started with college radio in North Carolina. I went to UNC Greensboro. I was a DJ for an electronic music techno 3-hour radio show. And I started doing that. And I was like, you know what? I'm not bad at this. How about we do something where we can actually try to make a living out of this? So what I did is then I went and did internships at local television stations. So worked in the newsroom, worked in the sports department, and ultimately landed a gig as a sports producer at one of the local stations. And then what I did is I took being in the building and then used all the equipment and taped stuff for practice and built up my own resume. You're already in the building, you know?
Right.
So then I just started doing that and then spreading and sending out tapes, and then got little nibbles, and then did local TV for a while in Spokane. And then in Memphis, I was in Memphis for 3 years. I covered the Grizzlies. I got to be a part of covering Ole Miss and some of the SEC teams, and of course, University of Memphis. And then came kind of out to LA, and it wasn't easy. I'm originally from this area.
Yeah.
But it was not easy. I had nothing when I came back out here. I wanted to make it back out here. And ultimately, a little radio with UCLA led to doing Fox. And so we're kind of slowly making our way, but it's taking a lot of patience and certainly a lot of persistence.
Well, man, the persistence I could see, but again, I'm going to go back. We got Brian Fenley. And if I may read a couple things about you, Brian, I know you're a humble man. The way Brian and I met, ironically, if I may.
Yes, of course.
So Brian, we're at a place called Ireland's 32, the great little pub, an Irish pub in Sherman Oaks, Burbank, Sherman Oaks area, and Van Nuys area. And the owner there, Megan and Seamus Kennedy, old friends of mine, and straight from the island. Seamus straight over there from the great from Ireland. And he walks. I've known the guy for about 10 years, and he walks over to me, and I said to him, "Yeah, I do a podcast." This is about 9 months ago, not knowing that at that time I had maybe 2 followers, maybe 3, myself, producer Rob, and somebody else. He walks over to our table. He says, "Hey, there's a guy over there that he does a podcast, and you guys he said, "You two ought to get together." And I said, "Yeah, I'm always trying to learn. And let me go and come on, I'll introduce you." And I walk over there. We meet. You are the kindest. Is that your beautiful wife or girlfriend or
girlfriend? Yeah.
Beautiful young lady. And you two were awesome. So kind to me. And you shared your experience. And it's about relationship in this business. It's totally about. Would you agree there?
I completely agree. And when it comes to relationship building, they take time. It's cultivating. It's like planting seeds. You can't expect something to happen right away, but it's sort of like, it's almost like you're investing money in stocks. That's how I look at relationships, because they take time to grow and fester, but they ultimately will pay off in time. So say you get to know someone like yourself, maybe we can help each other out now, but most likely a year or 2 down the road, something pops up, but you have to cultivate it. You can't lose sight. And that's all part of it as well. Once you meet the person, you have to kind of stay on their radar, check in once in a while.
No, man. And the analogous to sports, that fear, part of the battle is just showing up. That walk from my table to your table. First of all, I wanted to punch Seamus going, "Really, dude? This guy is not going to know. I don't let him enjoy his evening." But I made that walk of could have been shame, or that walk of fear that's inside. And then that's where it started right there. And just like in sports, man, part of the thing is just showing up. Just showing up is the first thing we must do. Once we show up, then it happened. Then the text messaging went on, and then so my story goes though. Then after getting to know, instead of going home and saying, "Yeah, I met a guy at a bar, great guy," then I have to go look you up, of course, because now we have social media, that we can look up. In the old days, Brian, when I went to a bar in the 80s, they had no social media. I was an owner of the Raiders. I was an astronomical engineer. I mean, I could say whatever the hell I wanted to say out there.
Yeah.
And nobody could find out a damn thing. Is that correct, Rob?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
I thought you were.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I can go to both sides of the bar and be 2 different people. Now, though, we introduce ourselves, and Brian Fenley, a national anchor for the Fox Sports Radio. Brian Fenley delivers news reports and engages in crosstalk on air, and engages in crosstalk on air across the country, reaching up to 600 plus Fox affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 83, and the iHeartRadio app. A fervent, I like the word fervent, Brian. I don't know if you came up with that. A fervent supporter of college athletics. Fenley works in conjunction with Learfield, co-hosting UCLA's weekly radio show on air in Los Angeles on AM 570. Interviewing is one of his passions. However, you're being interviewed today, having launched a video podcast platform spotlighting the biggest names in sports entertainment and media. Kennely is in sports, entertainment, and media. How about that? Kennely is driven to ask thought-provoking questions that get to the core of what makes the subject inspirational. Now, Brian, I'm going to tell you, in our short relationship so far, man, and following you and following your podcast, I highly recommend. What's the podcast called, Brian? Just to double check on this.
So it's on to something. And the best thing is YouTube is the best way. I love the visual component of the podcast as well. Cause we can always get the audio out there. And that's great. But there's something, I don't know. I'm more prone to wanting to see a visual component as well. So the best thing to do is, YouTube channel onto something and just my name, Brian Kennely, and there's the YouTube channel right there.
No, hey, it's awfully good. Again, I'm in the big leagues here. When I hit a guy like you, I know I've made it. I've made it. Okay. And people ask, Brian, I go, yeah, we're close buddies. We're really close. That's how I roll, man. I'm just going to throw you out there and say we're really tight. Hey, did you play sports when you were younger? Were you a sports guy at all?
Yeah, I was obsessed with basketball. That was something where I felt like I could go someplace with. And I love golf. I play a lot of golf. I did some baseball. I just did Little League, did Little League All-Star game, was a backup catcher at Little League All-Star game. But I mostly thought basketball was the way I was going to go. Now, you have the doctors, Denny, and they tell you when you're growing up, oh, you're going to be this. They look at your growth plates or whatever, and they say you're going to be 6'3". I ended up being like 5'11". Nice. So for basketball, that's not really a great recipe for success. So I kind of stopped growing earlier than I thought. And golf has been probably my best sport, but I'm a little eclectic all over the place. Assuming that I would never go that far in any of them, I really felt like, how can I stay involved in the game? Yeah. I want to be involved, and understanding that come to the realization that I'm not going to be able to play this game at a high level, right? But I want to be around the game. And so how do I do that? And that's where sort of this came into play, where I can still be around it in a way, because I love it so much, as you know.
God dang, I tell you, great point. There are so many kids that I have this program of about 150 kids, ages 8 to 14. We just finished a tournament, a perfect game, they call it, tournament, an international tournament. We went to the final game, lost 3-0, and it was beautiful because it was a exciting week, and the kids got the experience to win games. Maybe they weren't supposed to win. Maybe we weren't favored at any of them, and we got to the finals, kept plucking away and going. But I tell kids, man, playing the game is just one opportunity to be involved in a game. But like yourself, there's so much opportunity. I chose the coaching route. I'm now in this podcasting business because I want to let so many people know the mistake I made. I played when I was done. I got cut finally in going into pro ball, and I thought it's over. And it's not over. What we do now is we just go to another direction if you still want to be a part of it. And I got to believe this is a thought-provoking question, man. Was there a time there when you went, man, this ain't for me, or screw this sport, or this is not fair. That's this thing about not fair. Then we end up moving on and saying, oh, this turned out to be the right decision to make.
Yeah, I think that when you see your peers, they're much better at the sport. You just kind of can't live in La La Land for much longer. There's just this level of, okay, I tried, I gave it all I could. But with that said, there's not a surrender, like we mentioned. There's a surrender and losing sight of your aspirations as a player, but do not surrender your aspirations of being around the sport. And that's the realization, like you, as in coaching, there are so many different ways that you can stay involved and make money at it, which is really important for people to understand as we look at it from a media perspective, coaching perspective. There's so many other support staff people that help sports go, working with teams, working in media, covering events. There are endless opportunities out there for people. So
do you have to be as good looking as you, though, Brian? Do we all have to be as good looking as you in this to be there?
Well, you know what I did? I knew we were going to do this, so I patted on the makeup.
I got it. Yeah,
I actually not only did I put on some makeup, but then I put powder on top of it.
What?
So
Well done.
I feel like anybody can be as good looking as me with makeup.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that because with guys like me, I had my makeup person come in and she says every morning, you know, Denny, I can't polish a turd. And I say, okay, fair enough, man. We'll move on. We'll save money on the makeup on this side of it, my friend. Hey, did now you've done with Fox and ESPN and so forth. What's your favorite sport out there to work besides basketball? Have you done any baseball?
I haven't done any baseball. I mean, when I do the Fox Sports Radio updates during the baseball season, essentially what we'll do is they'll come to me at the bottom of the top of every hour on the radio, and we'll give sort of like a comprehensive rundown of what's happening in sports right now. So during the baseball season, I'll be mentioning scores, storylines from baseball, even include a radio clip after games. So say a home run was hit from Fernando Tatis Jr., we'll throw that in the update. So essentially, like if I'm doing an update to you and it's like, okay, Brian, let's go on the air right now, and we're talking baseball in the middle of the baseball season, I could start out by saying, it all came down to Fernando Tatis Jr. as he dug into the batter's box, hit soundbite, a ball far away, it's good. So that call, Padres Radio Network, Tatis hits the grand slam, and the Padres beat the Twins 4-2. Also in the NL West, the Dodgers, so we kind of run through stuff like that. But my favorite sports to call right now, volleyball, excited to see where I take that and doing more television work with that. And then also I love tennis, and tennis is a work in progress. Tennis is a work of art, and it is much different than calling other sports because silence is very important. Usually when we are calling events, we're talking during the action. Right. But in tennis, they hate it when you talk when they're actually in motion. So it's how do you fill the dead time in between points? That's what makes you a good broadcaster. So it's different than basically any other broadcast of any other sport, where you have to be a lot more selective with the words you use, which is a challenge, and I'm trying to work on that.
God, I never thought of that. When I watch tennis, and I'm an all sports fan, and tennis as well. I'll usually wait till the finals, obviously, to see it, the U.S. Open or the Australian Open. But you're right. You guys got to stay quiet. Allow us to let the point. You can't be talking as the points. By the way, the ball's going too quick. It's going back and forth. What can you do there? But I will tell you, I think in broadcasting, I love when a broadcaster will allow the game, even in baseball, sometimes football. I thought Vince Scully was amazing on the times when he didn't speak, when he allowed the ambiance of the moment, and we just sucked it in, if that makes any sense.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think you're seeing the best sportscasters at the highest levels doing that, where they'll say something simple like so-and-so won, and then they back off and they let the theater of the moment play and the emotions, and they don't talk over what is happening right afterwards. And I think the guys like Mike Tirico, I think we saw that in watching some of the NFL playoffs this past weekend. And after the Bengals held on, after we saw the interception thrown by Derek Carr at the goal line for the Raiders, that once people knew who won, then Tirico just stepped aside. You don't have to fill time all the time, because the beautiful thing about sports television is how great the microphones on the field are. That sound is everything in a great sportscast. When you can hear the snapping of the ball, the cadence of the quarterback, and pads hitting pads, those are the things that subconsciously the listener gravitates towards in the viewer. And a lot of it gets drowned out, Denny, if you're talking over it.
Yeah.
And when something as emotional as the Bengals winning their first playoff game in 31 years, you don't want to get in the way of that at all. You want the moment to speak, and the best to do that.
No, man, it's like going to analogies as you're talking. And I can see why you're so successful, Brian, listening to you, the way you create a story, the way you speak. But it reminds me when you're talking about speaking over it, nothing worse than going to a wedding and the priest or over talks during the experience, or someone at a wedding when it's for these two young people that are going up there getting married and sharing their vows, and all of a sudden there's a third party in there talking over this thing, explaining it, and taking the power away from what's happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the ego gets involved.
Yeah.
And so even if you are a broadcaster, everybody has an ego. Okay, we have to understand that. But your ego should never take over the moment.
Mhm.
You're a vehicle, a vessel to dispel what you're saying to the masses, but you are not the moment. You are like a viewer in that you are watching it. You are not strapping on the helmet, making tackles in front of thousands of people. So by golly, even if you're on the broadcast, and the best know this, get out of the way.
Get out of the way.
Because you have to, it'll make the broadcaster look better. And you have to kind of take a little of the ego out, because ultimately you're there, not because of you, but because of them and those who are making the plays on the field.
Hey man, it's just like coaching. We're playing this week. I tell a lot of my young coaches, and hey man, just get out of the way. We coach.
Yes.
We watch. We during the week is really when you're doing all your during practice is when you're doing all your skill sets and God, I'm lacking for words today, man. But when you're getting all your work done, game time comes on. When games get there, just stay out of the way. Let these kids play. You see it at the youth level. I see it at Little League baseball. I see it at youth baseball. I see it in high school. And even sometimes in college, man. I see it with basketball coaches sometimes, man. I'll tell you what, I'll see a coach, and if he's more tense, and I know a lot of it's show. I know it's a lot of let his players know I want to fight for my players. And the truth is, man, the players don't see it that much. They don't go back there going, "Do you see Coach Barrett fighting for us today?" That we are as important as we are as a leadership role. Sometimes a great leader is one that sits back like a John Wooden. There's a guy that a lot of people don't remember. You know who I'm talking about, Rob. You know
Sure.
Johnny Wooden. Yeah. And there's guys out there that just allow this process to unravel and see if guys can get in and get out of this thing. But in staying out of the way, I've said that so many times. Hey man, stay the F out of the way. Just out of the way. Let the kid go. Nothing like a kid in the batter's box. And he looks down at third base coach and he gives him all sorts. The counts, there's nothing on, no one on base. And the coach is giving nothing but signs over there because he saw it on TV or saw it in a movie or something to that effect, where this is what a coach is supposed to do. What a coach does is just make eye contact with one of your players. Allow that kid to know, hey, I'm here for you. I'm right here. Now go get him. Keep your terms, keep your language short, and then allow the process to take place, man. Who's some of your best broadcasters?
So my number one idol is Dick Enberg. And I'm sure you know Dick Enberg.
Yes.
You talk about his voice, a resonance, a personality, a storytelling savant. And he was a charmer in front of the television. He sort of gravitated the masses to him by his delivery. And he was so versatile. And that's what it's all about. And that's what I strive to be. And I'm nowhere where I want to be in my career, but it's a process and I'm working at it. But you can look to him and say, my goodness, look at what this guy did. Denny, he would call every single sport, Olympics, baseball, football, basketball, golf, tennis, the list goes on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so if you want to be employable, you got to go the Dick Enberg route.
How funny. Yeah.
And I think he even did horse racing and all this stuff. So you might not have been born to know horse racing. You might not have been raised to know golf.
Yeah.
But throw yourself in those sports. Be around people who know what they're talking about. And then you'll soon become someone who knows what's going on. And then you can go down that route and be a part of that industry, the golf industry, and call whatever. And so you look at his schedule, and when he was alive, and he was just every sports season, he was jam-packed.
Yeah. You know what you knew
into
about
his
Dick?
80s. Into his 80s. Yes.
Yo, you knew when Dick Enberg did something, when if you flip on the channels around, in the old days you did it with by hand, but now with the clicker, and if Enberg was the voice, that would make me stop. That means I knew it's like seeing a guy at a party that oh shit, man, Brian's here. I'm not leaving until I say hello to Brian Fenley. I'm not, because Enberg was that way. He got on there. I want to hear this. I want to hear him do the actual event. I can't wait to see what's coming up out of Enberg's mouth.
I gratefully, as a family, we knew his family and
Northridge guy, correct? Cal State Northridge?
I believe so. We spent a lot of time in LA. Do you know that?
Yes.
Because he used to be on the call for UCLA Bruins basketball.
Yes.
So we knew him, and my mom is good friends with his wife.
Wow.
And they're based in San Diego, and my mom, we're originally from San Diego. But anyway, not to mention that as much, but just to say that I have experience in seeing Dick Enberg in social events, and seeing how he interacts, like you were talking about. And you might have never met him. You might have never known what he did. But if you are in a party, in a social event, and you get to meet him, there's a glow and a radiance, and you ultimately feel like that's a guy that you've known for years.
Yeah. No, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The other thing about him is what makes him so endearing is that he knows a little bit about everything, which is great in conversations. Yeah. So if you don't know a little bit about that, he'll listen to you. He would listen to you and what industry you were a part of or whatever. And then he'd be able to hold a conversation with you and whatever. He was just so well versed in so many things. He was a lover of knowledge and learning, and that was seen in everything he did.
Yeah, man, you're exactly right. Let me ask you now, Brian. And I miss him out. And then there's a guy after him named Joe Putita. If you remember that name, he was a Northridge guy. He worked underneath Enberg sometimes out of Cal State Northridge. But I can go on and on. I tell you, it's what you guys do up there is extremely. I like what you said about egos. The one thing we do in our sports, we try to. Now, some football players have a hard time, or athletes, not football players. Sorry, football. To check their egos at the door to go out and play. Who's got the biggest ego? No, I won't say that. I apologize.
They're all out there.
Hey, we lost a guy.
If somebody tells you that works in network television that they don't have an ego, they're lying to you.
Hey, if someone says Denny Barrett doesn't have an ego, they're lying. I can tell you that right now.
Exactly.
We'll keep it right there. We lost an announcer this weekend, and I'm not sure you know him, and I'm throwing this out to you. We're with Brian Fenley, and with Fox, ESPN, professional broadcasting. Brian, did you know a guy named Bill Seward?
I did not, unfortunately.
Okay, there you go. There's that broadcasting question that we don't throw out there, because if the guy doesn't know the answer, then you go, okay, now where do we segue to? That's Bill was with ESPN and a graduate of Notre Dame High School, and he did the rugby, and he went over to ESPN. Wow. He did Channel 4 with Fred Rogan, and he backed up when Fred wasn't there, and Bill was 62, and he passed away last weekend. And then another one, a guy named Ed Sheff, who played at coach at Lewis Clark State College in Idaho. And when you say Spokane, I played there. We would travel to Gonzaga and play against Spokane, our little NAIA school at Lewis Clark State. That was a very dominant NAIA baseball school.
But, big time. Yeah.
Yes. And Ed was Ed passed 2-3 days ago, and he coached me. I coached them in Alaska, and I coached them at Lewiston and Dominican. And it's sad. You mentioned Enberg. It's sad when we lose these icons, an Enberg, an Ed Sheff, these icons in our professional business that we lose. And you go, man, oh man, just one more time with the guy. I wouldn't mind hearing Enberg do one more game, one more sports game, one more tennis match, whatever it may be. But Ed was a guy up in Lewiston, Idaho that we lost. There's another sports guy. And I just like to make sure I throw that out there. Hey, talk to me now. When is, what's going on next, for Brian Fenley? Where's Brian at now? What's he doing now?
Well, there's a lot of excitement about where I'm going with my career, but what I can say, and it's one of those things that I think that this is going to be a great year for me. I can't really say exactly what's going to happen yet, but what I will say is that right now, just doing the Fox stuff, and then I'm doing a lot of ESPN Plus volleyball, which is fun. I love on men's volleyball side. So a lot of the Big West. So we're
Yeah.
kind of getting involved in the volleyball on the men's side as well. So excited to talk more about, maybe we can do this again in a couple months where I'll have some cool things to share with you. But from that perspective, volleyball, expect that to be a bigger part of my career moving forward. And then also hopefully some tennis this summer, calling tennis. And then we do the UCLA weekly show. So that's on Tuesdays. So we're taping this on a Tuesday. We'll do it tonight and it will air on AM 570. We'll have a lot of breakdown on the last couple of college basketball games for UCLA men's hoops. We'll talk about it. We'll have Tracy Murray on. He's our expert, and we'll have some fun bantering back and forth with him. So those are a couple of things that are going on. But it's interesting about this business, as you know, Denny, it's like you have plans, you have visions, and they might not go a certain way when you want them to happen. That doesn't mean they're not going to happen. So I can't say a whole lot yet, but I would love to do a second part to this and down the road.
We will.
Yeah. Okay, good.
No. No, we definitely will. Again, I'm learning as we're sitting through this thing. I'm throwing stuff at you. I'm still learning. I am definitely in rookie ball, if they want to call the minor league. And my it's what direction do I go with certain people? I got very intimidated, not intimidated, but nervous, thinking, okay, the guy knows his shit. The guy knows what he's doing. He's doing things that with volleyball and tennis, that if a guy like me, if what's the comparison? What's the comparison between volleyball and tennis? It is, or volleyball and baseball. It isn't that. What I'm seeing is, what are you seeing in athletes today on the court, whether it's any sport? What are you seeing today that's different from the athletes that we had 10 years ago, if you will?
That's a great question. I think that if you talk to NBA guys now, they're going to say, well, we're much more athletic. You know, you hear the whole discussion about LeBron James and Michael Jordan, who's better. There was a recent comment from Dwayne Wade, who of course played in the NBA, and he just tries to make the point that MJ is going to be forgotten, and he played against much inferior competition compared to LeBron James. And I feel like there's always going to be a recency bias involved with athletes to thinking that they're better than ones before. But what I love from a broadcaster perspective, Denny, is that we, thanks to social media, have access to stories about these athletes that we didn't before. I'm all about the storytelling aspect. So let's get into, when I prepare for a broadcast, let's say there's an athlete that has an Instagram. I'm going to go look at that Instagram and I'm going to see if I find anything interesting from them. Maybe they went and they took a family trip to Rome, and they put a little caption about it. I'm going to include that in the broadcast. And so I feel like with all the different mediums of media, that I'm able to pluck nuggets of information better than I could 10 years ago from these athletes, and then embed them in the broadcast itself to tell a better story.
God damn, that makes sense, man. And it's good. Again, how do I get to know somebody unless I know a little bit about them? And the more I delve into their background and know a little bit about I always tell our coaches, coaching stride or ground balls or swings, everyone's doing that. But I want my coaches to know, first of all, call their kid by their first name. Don't call them by their number. Don't call them by their last name. We that's always easy. The old days of Lombardi, Barrett, Fenley, to me, I get that. But how about, hey, Brian, hey, Denny, and I want these kids, I'm really, it's huge to me to make sure these 9, 10, 11, 12, and these are tough ages, man. These are tough ages to go out there and perform, because what they're seeing today, when I was younger at 9 and 10, I only saw a Saturday baseball game and maybe Mickey Lolich on the mound, or maybe I saw Reggie Jackson as a little older to hip because I saw it on TV. These kids now, all they see is the LeBrons, or they see the Dodgers, and they see the Bellingers, and they think that that's what they should be doing every single time they go out. And the truth of the matter is, man, the pressure that these young kids have at 10, 11, and 12, let's take the pressure off them by asking them, what kind of pizza do they eat? How about asking, man, what's your favorite movie? I asked a kid the other day, what did he saw? I went and saw Spider-Man, not because I like Spider-Man, not because I know anything. I never even seen the dang things, but I know the kids are on the cages are talking about it. And for me then, to have a relationship with these kids, when they look at an adult or a coach and say, yeah, I saw Spider-Man last week, that I just grabbed them. I just grabbed that relationship to say, and then the next thing in my mouth is, hey, let's let that ball travel, hit the ball the other way. And I mean, we're in. It's not about everyone in here, let's do it this way. It's about getting to know what your audience, what your people around you think. Part of this deal, what you're doing, you got to know not so much of part of the broadcasting. Yes, it's for the people out there, but I assume, Brian, you also got to get along with your producer, get along with your director, get along with the people, be a good teammate amongst the people you're around. Would you agree?
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think over the years, I've gotten much better at finding the best way to make everything work. I think experience is key, right? And you have to understand that, like for like a volleyball broadcast like I did last weekend, there are a ton of people that are part of this broadcast. There is the producer, director, multiple camera people out there filming the action from different angles. And then there's graphics people. There's those that are the replay operator. Everybody works together. And so you have to treat everybody well and be grateful and be respectful, because you're nothing without them. And you are the representation of them in what the viewer or the listener watches. So they're working their what's off, and you want to show that in you best handling and representing the broadcast so that all parties look well. You might be the one that they hear, but there's so many important people that the broadcast would not have been possible with those people behind the scenes. So people want to work with people who they like, obviously. If they like the people they work with, they're more willing to go beyond their responsibilities and even make the broadcast better and spice it up and try new things and not just do the bare minimum. So it's very beneficial for all sides to get along. However, there also can be differing viewpoints as to the best way to do things. And so having conversations with those producers beforehand and understanding where they're coming from and talking. I think one of the biggest problems in this business, in broadcasts themselves, is that, Denny, it is a communication business. But some of the worst things that happen on air, mistakes, anything that wasn't supposed to happen, is due to a lack of communication in a communication business. And the best way is to over talk, I think, before broadcast starts. Get to know the producer and look at them as more than just a producer. Understand who they are, what their background is. You care, show that you care. And don't do it in a fake way. You got to be authentic and real about it, because then they're more willing to go the extra mile for you, and then everybody looks good in the end.
Well, Brian, we're almost getting anywhere with Brian Fenley, national. Brian, help me out. Describe you. If I say I'm with Brian Fenley, boom, what would I say after that? Then and I'm learning. You're educating me on how to do an interview here. If I say I'm with Brian Fenley, then what comes after that?
As far as me describing who I am, I love that question because I'm that person that will never give up.
Mm.
I'm that person that has never had it easy in the business and still won't be deterred because of it.
Mm.
I've had to scratch and claw for everything. And
Mm.
there are many, many, many people who have made it much further than I. But I look at this business, Denny, and it is a marathon. And I feel like while it's easy to get called into the comparison game and saying, well, if he's or she's doing that and this and that, here's the thing. I feel like I'm starting to come into a groove right now, and my time is coming.
Mm.
And it's partially due to the fact that it's a marathon, it's not a race. People get to where they want to get to at different times.
Mm-hmm.
And I might just be doing it a little bit slower, but hopefully in doing it that way, I'll stay there. Because some people, they get to the top and they maybe got there too fast.
Yeah.
So for me, it's about never giving up and just keep fighting. And that's something I learned from my father. You know, that was what he was all about, is a fighter. And that do not let other people's, because it's a very subjective business, as you know.
Yeah.
One person might like you and one person might not be able to stand you.
Right.
But don't be restrained or restricted by the perceptions of others.
That's right.
And the most important thing for me is opportunities are not just going to fall in your lap. I mean, maybe they can. I'm not there.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not good enough or whatever. But what I have to do is I have to make opportunities happen. And that is by taking risks, going out there, putting on these interviews and podcasts,
Yeah.
allowing myself to tell stories, meet a lot of really fascinating and awesome people.
Including me. Including me.
You.
Yes, thank you.
You definitely fit into that.
Thank you.
And building up a support staff of people who I really like and who hopefully like me back. And so just, you have to be someone who takes the initiative.
Right on. That's what we tell our kids today. I will tell you, one thing you did say, and we're going to close this up in a second here, that what other people think of me is none of my business. That's how I go with them. What other people think of me, none of my business. Doesn't affect me, because I know that you're darn right. Think what you want. I know inside my head, my motives. I know they're clean and they're kind. I know I care about you. I care about people around me. So what you think of me, man, God bless you. You know what you look like though, Brian? And you got
Who
a
do I
little
look like?
Bob Costas. I'm gonna go with it. I'm telling you, when you put on the Zoom, this is a Zoom call. When I get you on there, take a picture of this, you're gonna see you got the same Costas mouth, the same Costas nose. And I'll tell you what, move over, Bob, because Brian Fenley is on his way right there, man. I can see it.
And you are so kind, Danny. I've got a long way to go, but I certainly have a lot of exciting things going to happen in my future. And I want to talk about it when we can down the road. So let's do this again down the road. And I look forward to it.
Do you promise me, Brian, now, the people out there,
we're going to do it.
We're doing it again down the road.
Yes,
we'll do it. We'll do it at Seamus's Ireland 32 right there, huh?
That'd be fun.
That would be great. We'll get in there and have it happen, man. Hey, Brian, thank you so much for what you do, my friend. Okay.
Danny, I appreciate you. I'm humbled that you had me on and look forward to doing it again.
Right on, Brian. I'll talk to you soon, brother. Thanks again. Swing hard in case you hit it. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you guys. That was fun.
Hey, yeah, I'll talk to you. I got to tell you, I'm learning.